Here is freshman Congresswoman Lucy McBath introducing her first bill in the House of Representatives.
7 years ago, my son was violently torn from my life, a victim of gun violence, a victim of a person who had a gun who should never have received one. Today, I join my colleagues and former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords to prevent more families from facing the horror and heartbreak wrought by gun violence. I am honored to co-sponsor this bipartisan legislation for my son Jordan and for the safety of every family in this country.
And joining us now is Representative Lucy McBath, Democratic Congressman from Georgia's 6th District. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
It is so great to have you back on this program. What was that like, to be standing in the well of the House of Representatives and standing up and to introduce your first bill and speaking for your son Jordan at the same time?
Well, it was very surreal. I've been, there in the gallery before, watching other legislators put forth legislation and amendments and, continuing resolutions, but actually to be there myself as a policymaker when I've come to Washington so many times before as an advocate for safer gun laws. To actually be the policymaker was, I think my son would be so proud, and all the work that I've done with gun violence victims and survivors around the country. I think I just felt the weight of all that on my shoulders.
I'm sure you did. Democrats, since around 1994, have been kind of running away from guns in campaigns and running away from the issue because they felt they were hurt by it in the early 90s. And when they first time they lost the House of Representatives in 40 years, they attributed part of that to the NRA and guns. You not only took it on in the campaign, you did it in a Republican district. This was Newt Gingrich's district that you won this campaign in. It was a squeaker. It was close. But you didn't shy away from this issue. How did you appeal? You had to appeal to Republican voters. How did you do that?
Well, I think that as a mother, there are families all over the country, and most specifically in my district, that they're very concerned about their children coming home and talking about their lockdown drills. And that I think that every person that I appealed to understood that that could also be their plight as well, that there are no safe spaces in the country, that gun violence is, apparently everywhere, and that I, as a victim, could speak great credibility as to wanting to really keep them safe, why it's important to do so.
What advice do you have for Democrats, especially Democrats now running for president, about how to speak to Republican voters? Because you had to convert Republican voters in your district, some Republican voters, to vote Democrat, probably some of them for the first time in their lives.
Well, basically, I just told my story. I had been a single mother, so I understood when we had that recession after September 11, and I took a hefty pay cut. So I could speak very credibly to the fact that I had to decide what I could or could not afford to do anymore, and still be able to make it every day. Having been a two-time breast cancer survivor, I understand what it means to make sure that people have affordable health care and that people with pre-existing conditions like myself have the ability to have, good treatment without high cost of that treatment. So my own lived experiences afforded me to be the face of the very thing that people in my district and around the nation are concerned about every single day.
How do you do it? And by this I mean, how do you deal with the grief, which I'm sure is still there, of the loss of your son, something you didn't want to live to, you didn't want to be here, and how do you live with that every day going forward?
I live with my grief by making sure that I'm fighting as hard as I can for the people that I live and work among every single day. For me, that is how I manage my grief, to put myself forth for the sake of others, which is exactly what I was trying to teach my son to do as a human being. And so giving of myself, giving of my time and my talent, all of my treasure, trying to make sure that I am making democracy better for those people that are really counting on democracy working for them.
Congresswoman Lucy McBath, thank you very much for joining us tonight. And I am not among those who are surprised that you are here now. It makes perfect sense to me.
Thank you so much.
The Honorable Lucy McBath gets tonight's last word, the 11th hour.